Before we go any further, I want to ask you for a moment of stillness. Take a deep breath. Lately, I've been reflecting on 2026, and honestly, it doesn't feel like just another year turning on the calendar. There's a subtle shift in the air, something quiet, almost unspoken. A moment of separation, not dramatic on the surface, but profound beneath it, between those who continue moving on autopilot and those who, for reasons they can't fully explain, feel the call to pause. Like you, let me ask you something sincerely. Have you felt an almost physical urge to withdraw? To step away from the constant noise, the endless input, the pressure to keep reacting to the world outside? Don't mistake this for exhaustion or sadness. I see it as something sacred. A signal, as if an ancient current of wisdom what Thoth spoke of long ago, resurfacing through silence rather than words. What we're exploring here isn't about shallow online theories, it's about preparation, inner preparation. This pull towards solitude isn't an escape, it's training, a quiet protection, a space being created around you so that something deeper can stabilize before what comes next. I want to show you how to turn this solitude into strength. While many remain scattered and overwhelmed, this period of withdrawal can transform the mental fatigue you feel today into a grounded clarity, one that can't be shaken by chaos or noise. I've laid out the practical, step-by-step framework for stabilizing this inner strength in my ebook, The Thoth Code. The link is in the first pinned comment for those who feel called to go deeper. But stay with me until the end, because this isn't something we can rush. There's more that needs to be said, especially in this message. The sign everyone ignored. Do you know that feeling that sometimes visits us, almost like a whisper amidst the noise? A desire, bordering on a need, to simply get away from it all. It's not a dramatic wish, but a serene longing for silence, for a space where the world and its endless demands can't reach us. I've felt it. Maybe you're feeling it now. And the first thing our minds, trained for productivity, tell us is that this is wrong, that it's laziness, escapism, a sign that we're not coping. But what if it's exactly the opposite? What if it's the clearest sign that we're finally starting to truly listen to ourselves? I see the world today, and honestly, it seems like a discordant symphony playing at maximum volume. Screens flicker, news screams, expectations push us. We live immersed in a constant static that prevents us from hearing the gentle melody playing within us. And when that urge to step away arises, I no longer see it as a problem. I see it as an act of self-preservation. It's our deepest part, our soul, if you prefer, saying with desperate calm, "Enough. I need a moment. I need to breathe." It's the body and mind asking for an armistice, a ceasefire in this daily war for our own attention. Our ancestors, in a way that seems almost magical to us today, understood rhythms. They looked at the moon, at the seasons, and knew there was a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to act and a time to wait. We have lost this wisdom in our modern arrogance. We believe we can live in an eternal spring of action, in an endless summer of productivity. And when our inner winter arrives, we call it depression. When our soul asks for the autumn of retreat, we call it failure. But this feeling of yours, this desire for pause, is simply your wisest nature trying to remind you of a cycle we have forgotten. And the most curious, the most intimate aspect of this calling is that it seems personal, non-transferable. Not everyone is listening. Many continue dancing to the chaotic music of the world, without realizing there is another song. If this stillness calls to you, if this need to isolate yourself resonates within you, perhaps it's because you've reached a limit. Not a limit of weakness, but a limit of saturation. It's like a glass that, once full, can't accept another drop. Your conscience is telling you that the old way of living no longer serves you. It's an invitation to leave the main avenue with its deafening traffic and find a small trail in the forest that only you can see. I like to think of this process as a tuning. It's as if our whole lives we've listened to a single radio station, full of static and interference, believing that was the only possible sound. This desire to distance ourselves is the instinctive movement of your hand turning the dial, searching for something more, searching for a cleaner frequency where the music can be heard without the noise. By allowing yourself this space, you're not isolating yourself from the world. You're isolating yourself from the noise. And it's only in silence that we can finally hear our own music, a melody that has always been there, patiently waiting to be discovered. So what seems like an end, a desire to stop everything, is actually a beginning. It's the start of a preparation that happens in silence, far from applause and criticism. It's the universe giving you the chance to rebuild your foundations, to strengthen yourself before the winds change. The world outside may not understand. They may call you strange, absent-minded, but something inside you, a wisdom that doesn't need words, knows exactly what it's doing. It's preparing you for a time that will demand not brute force, but a serene strength, a strength that can only be cultivated in stillness. And this protection comes in an unexpected way, the construction of an invisible fortress. And then, in this retreat, we begin to realize that isolation is not a void, but a space for construction. It's funny how we use the word isolate with such a negative connotation of abandonment. But for me, it began to take on a new meaning, that of creating an island of serenity in the middle of an ocean of chaos. It's not about building walls to keep the world out, but about cultivating an inner garden where our soul can flourish in peace. Every time we choose silence instead of distraction, we are, in fact, laying a stone in this sanctuary that only we can inhabit. I see collective consciousness as a large electromagnetic field. And let's be honest, lately this field has been overloaded with fear, uncertainty, and anxiety that seems to hang in the air. It's almost palpable, and we, as sensitive beings, absorb this often without even realizing it. This pause, this step back, acts as a circuit breaker. It's a conscious disconnection from this unstable electrical network. Not out of selfishness, but out of necessity, so that our own light doesn't short-circuit along with the system. It's an act of energetic responsibility, first towards ourselves, then towards the world. Within this fortress of silence, something magical happens. The energy that was once spent reacting, defending ourselves, performing, simply surviving the day, suddenly becomes available. And this energy, now free, turns inward. It is the fuel for a silent alchemy. It is here that old wounds can finally be looked at without the noise of the world distracting us. It is here that the beliefs that limit us begin to dissolve. Not by force, but by simple lack of attention. We are being remade, and this process is so delicate that it requires the privacy of a cocoon. And in this state, we become more sensitive. We begin to perceive the subtleties of exchanges. We realize that some conversations, some environments, some people simply drain us, not out of malice on their part most of the time, but because their frequency no longer matches ours. It's like trying to tune into two radio stations at the same time. The result is just noise. Protecting ourselves from this isn't about creating enmity. It's simply honoring our own need for clarity. It's learning to say no with our hearts so we can say a deeper yes to our own journey. This new version of ourselves that is being gestated operates at a different voltage. It's calmer, more centered, but at the same time more powerful. Our nervous system, our emotional body, everything is undergoing a kind of software update. And as with any important update, the system needs to restart. It needs an offline moment to integrate the new information. Trying to do this update while connected to 1,000 networks at the same time would be a recipe for disaster. The pause is not a system failure. It's an essential part of the upgrade. But this cocoon is not a final destination. No butterfly is born to live in a cocoon. It is a transitional station, a sacred womb. What we are building inside is our self-sufficiency. We are learning to be our own source of light, peace, and validation. It is a training to stop looking outside for what has always been inside. And it is inevitable that, as this inner light strengthens, it will begin to illuminate the cracks and dust of our old world. And the things we once loved suddenly begin to lose their color. This is the death of your old self, and it is in this refuge that the strangeness deepens. The conversations that once entertained us now seem empty. A distant echo. The places we frequented, that we called our own, suddenly become alien settings. Even people, some of whom we love, seem to speak a language we no longer fully understand. It's a lonely feeling, I know. It can be frightening, but it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you are shedding your skin, and the old skin, your social self, is beginning to peel away. This self is a fascinating construct, isn't it? A collage of expectations, of roles we've learned to play in order to be accepted. The good son, the successful professional, the fun friend. We've become such good actors that we forget we're acting. And this constant performance consumes tremendous energy. In the silence of our withdrawal, without an audience to applaud, the mask begins to weigh us down. And for the first time, we feel the relief and terror of letting it fall. We are witnessing the death of who we thought we were, so that who we truly are can finally breathe. The ancient Hermeticists spoke of the law of vibration. Nothing is still. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. I feel that this is the most elegant explanation for what is happening. We are not losing friends. We are becoming desynchronized from them. It's like two musical notes that once in harmony begin to vibrate at such different frequencies that the sound becomes dissonant. Forcing these connections would be like trying to play a violin with the strings of a double bass. It simply doesn't work. It's not about right or wrong, better or worse. It's just about resonance, and yours is changing. And in this space that opens up, loneliness can be a frequent visitor. But with time, we learn to differentiate the pain of loneliness from the peace of solitude. Loneliness is feeling the lack of something outside. Solitude is feeling complete with what is inside. What we are experiencing is this transition. It is a necessary mourning for the person we were and for the relationships that belong to her. But in going through this mourning, we find a companion who never abandons us, our own presence. And believe me, there is no more interesting dialogue than the one we have with our own soul. This recalibration makes us more porous, more sensitive. The superficiality we once tolerated now becomes almost physically uncomfortable. The negativity we once overlooked now sounds like a fire alarm. It's not that we've become better, but our system for detecting inauthenticity has become more refined. It's our soul saying, I can no longer feed on this. I need truth. I need depth. And this search for a new connection begins. But the question that echoes in the silence is, connection with what or with whom? The answer, I feel, is not out there. The connection we seek is first and foremost vertical. It's with our highest self, with our divine spark. And from this inner connection, a new horizontal connection becomes possible. With other souls who are also tuning their instruments, who are also seeking the same melody. We are being prepared to find our true soul family. But for that, we first need to feel comfortable in our own company. And while the world sees us as standing still, we are in fact doing the most important work of all, accumulating the silent power of our own being. And this is where one of the greatest paradoxes of our journey lies. While the world outside runs a marathon without a finish line, we choose to sit by the roadside. And to the runner, we seem like quitters. But what they don't see is that we are not standing still. We are accumulating. Rest, when conscious, is not empty. It is full. It's like an archer who, to the target, seems to be moving backward when pulling the bowstring. But we who know the art know that this retreat is the exact measure of the force of the shot to come. Our culture has an unhealthy relationship with rest. We see it as a reward for exhaustion, not as a condition for creativity. We feel guilty for doing nothing, as if our existence is only validated by action. But I've learned that action born from exhaustion is merely reaction. It's noise. True creation, inspired action that can change a life, only springs from silence. It needs space. By allowing ourselves to truly rest without guilt, we are committing a revolutionary act. We are saying to the system, my value is not in what I do, but in who I am. I began to see my energy as water in a well. For years, I lived drawing more water than the source could replenish. I lived in constant debt, always tired, always chasing after things. This period of retreat is the decision to stop drawing water. It's letting the well fill up again. Each good night's sleep, each quiet afternoon, each moment we choose peace instead of drama is like a gentle rain filling our inner reserve. We are building an energy capital that, when the time comes to use it, will make all the difference. Nature is our greatest teacher in this. It is in no hurry, and yet everything comes to fruition. The seed does not struggle to sprout. It rests in the darkness, absorbing, accumulating, waiting for the right sign. Winter is not a mistake in creation. It is a sacred pause, essential for the exuberance of spring. We too have our seasons, and perhaps you are in your personal winter. The landscape may seem desolate, with no apparent growth. But beneath the snow of silence, the roots are deepening, life is concentrating. To trust this process is to have faith in life's own intelligence. And this rest isn't just for recharging, it's for focusing. Far from the pressure of having to decide, of having to act, clarity comes to visit us. It is in the silence that the gentle voice of our intuition can finally be heard. What do I really want? What is my true gift? What is my song? The answers don't come from mental calculation. They emerge. And suddenly, the arrow we are preparing is no longer for just any target. It has a destination that makes our hearts vibrate. And slowly, people begin to notice not what you do, but who you are. Your calm amidst their storm, your presence. You unintentionally become an oasis. People feel good around you, and they don't even know why. It's your energy, your overflowing well, that they feel. You don't need to offer water. Your mere existence as an oasis already quenches the thirst of those who pass by. And this accumulated energy isn't forever. It's the fuel for the next step in the journey. And as you align yourself with it, you begin to feel the very pulse of the universe in a different way. the hidden rhythm of the universe. In this place of stillness, a new perception begins to blossom, subtle as the perfume of a flower at night. We begin to feel a rhythm beneath the noise. It's like being at a noisy party and suddenly being able to hear the steady beat of the bass that was there all along but was inaudible before. We begin to see the dance behind what seemed to be chaos, the coincidences that are not coincidences, the encounters that seem scripted. Life ceases to be a series of accidents and becomes a dialogue, and our intuition becomes our translator. The so-called law of attraction, or vibrational affinity, ceases to be a textbook concept and becomes a lived experience. It's almost frighteningly simple. When I was immersed in fear, everything around me seemed to confirm that the world was a dangerous place. Every news item, every conversation was proof. Now, cultivating a little peace within myself, it's as if life brings me mirrors of that peace. Kinder people, smoother situations. It's not that the world has changed, it's that I changed the radio station, and suddenly the music is different. I feel that 2026, more than a date, is a symbol of acceleration, of a change of pace. I like the image of a carousel spinning faster and faster. Those at the center, anchored within themselves, feel the emotion, the breeze on their face, the joy of movement. But those on the edge, attached to external things, to validation, to drama, find the centrifugal force unbearable. The feeling is of being thrown outwards. All this training in silence, at its core, has been about this. Learning to find and remain in that still center. And I see around me, and I sense that many will feel what I call burnout of the soul. It's not the tiredness of the body or mind, which a good night's sleep can cure. It's an existential weariness. It's when the things that motivated us our whole lives scarier, money, status suddenly reveal themselves as empty shells. And the person wonders, I ran so hard to get here, and there's nothing here. It's a desert of meaning. And in this desert, people will desperately search for an oasis, for a new map. But for us who have learned to sit in silence, that same acceleration will sound different. It will be like the first chords of that song we love, the one that makes us want to get up and dance. It will be a calling, an impulse to finally move. Not with the effort of before, but with the grace of those carried by the melody. Things will begin to flow. The path will open before us, not because we forced it, but because we are finally walking in the same direction as the river. And we realize that our frequency was being tuned to a new score. A music that speaks of collaboration instead of competition, of authenticity instead of performance. We are being prepared to be the pioneers of this new dance, to show not with words but with our own way of being that another way of living is possible. But for this dance to be complete, for our bodies to withstand the intensity of the music, there was one last purification, a trial by fire to test the integrity of our new structure. Looking back on the last few years, it's easy to see them as a time of loss, hardship, and uncertainty. But what if this time wasn't a mistake? What if it was, in fact, a forging process? In alchemy, there's a process called calcination, which is basically burning something until all the impurities turn to ashes and only what is essential remains. I feel that's what we experienced. Every fear we faced, every illusion we lost, every time we were pushed to our limit was fire. A fire that didn't come to destroy us, but to purify us. The pressure we felt, sometimes unbearable, wasn't meant to crush us. It was meant to transform us. I always remember the image of carbon becoming diamond. It doesn't happen in a spa with relaxing music. It happens under unimaginable pressure in the deep darkness of the earth. Every challenge, every responsibility that weighed on our shoulders was actually compacting us, forcing us to access an inner strength we didn't even know we had. We were being remade from something brittle to something unbreakable. And isolation was the secret ingredient. It was what ensured the process was pure. A diamond doesn't form amidst other substances. It needs a contained environment. Our time alone, away from the opinions and energies of others, was our sacred laboratory. It was there that we could shed all masks and look at our true faces in the mirror. It was there that our new form could crystallize without interference. Isolation wasn't a punishment, it was protection. And what emerges from this fire, this pressure, this isolation, is a new way of being. A consciousness that I like to call diamond-like. It is, above all, indestructible. The storms of the world may come, but they can no longer break us. It is clear, transparent. With it, we can see through the shadow play of society, discerning what is real from what is merely illusion. And finally, it shines not with an arrogant light, but with a serene glow that radiates from within, illuminating our own path and perhaps that of someone else who is in darkness. I feel this transformation is reaching its climax. The ashes of what we were have already been carried away by the wind, What remains is simpler, stronger, truer. The world outside doesn't see it yet. They still see the cocoon's shell, but we inside feel the change. We feel the wings forming. There's a peace that didn't exist before, a clarity that seemed impossible. We are no longer the same people who embarked on this journey, and there's no going back. What has been forged within us is not an improvement, it's a transmutation. It's not an old car with a new paint job. It's a completely different vehicle. And understanding this is the key to deciphering the true message behind it all. It's not about what will happen in the world, but about what has already happened within us. The trial by fire is ending, and now finally we can begin to understand why all this is happening. The message of Thoth, the diamond consciousness. And so we arrive at the heart of the matter. The great revelation is not about an external event, a cataclysm, or a salvation that will come from the heavens. The message, as I feel it, is much more intimate and powerful. It is about the end of our old world, the world where we were victims of circumstances, hostages to our fears. All the pressure, all the purification had a single purpose: to forge within us this diamond consciousness, a new way of being in the world. This awareness is our forgotten heritage. It is who we are beneath all the layers of conditioning that life has imposed upon us. And this journey has been the process of digging through those layers. Our mind, once a whirlwind of worries and self-criticism, now resembles a crystal-clear lake. Thoughts come and go like clouds, but they can no longer disturb the stillness at the bottom. We have ceased to be slaves to the mind and have become its conscious partners. And in this mental silence, a new creative power begins to awaken. Our hearts, perhaps hardened by pain and disappointment, undergo a similar process. They become like perfectly polished diamonds. They don't absorb darkness. They reflect it as light. We begin to see others and ourselves with a compassion that is not sentimental, but clear. We see the pain behind the anger, the fear behind the arrogance, and our hearts become a portal to a love that asks for nothing in return, a love that is the very force that unites the universe. And this quality in itself has the power to heal. And our presence changes everything. Before, perhaps we would enter places and be sucked in by the energy of the environment. Now it's the opposite. Our presence, now anchored in this diamond-like clarity, becomes a stabilizing factor. People feel calmer around us, and they don't even know why. It's like a tuning fork that, when vibrating at a pure note, causes the other instruments around it to begin to tune into it. It's not something we do, it's something we are. And this being is our greatest contribution. When the great shift in pace of 2026 arrives and chaos sets in for many, the first reaction will be to look for a savior, a leader, a guru, a government, anything that offers answers and security. But the message that resonates with us is, stop looking. The lighthouse is you. All this training was to teach us to be our own safe harbor, to trust the light that shines from within instead of chasing the flickering lights outside. And that is true empowerment. It's realizing that we don't need permission to be free. We don't need a map to find our way. We don't need a guru to connect with the divine. We are the path. We are the light. We are the answer we were looking for. Our role is not that of a follower in a crowd, but that of a solitary, steadfast lighthouse on the shore, simply shining so that others, if they wish, can navigate the storm. This is the end of the world of searching and the beginning of the world of presence. We cease to be students of life and become the lesson itself. And this lesson, lived in silence with integrity, will have an impact that words could never have. We were prepared to be peace in the midst of war, order in the midst of chaos. And then our mission reveals itself. And it is surprisingly simple. It's not about doing something grand. It's not about leading a revolution, writing a manifesto, convincing crowds. The mission is simply to be that point of stability that has been forged within us. The paradigm of doing is from the old world. It's the belief that we need to fight, force, manipulate reality. But we have learned, in stillness, that reality is a mirror. It doesn't respond to our effort. It responds to our state of being. When the planet's frequency accelerates and the incoherence of fear and panic becomes the norm for many, our simple, coherent presence will become an act of immense power. Coherence is order. It is harmony. A coherent energy field generated by peace and love is like a pure, resonant musical note. And when that note sounds, it has the ability to organize the surrounding noise. People trapped in the chaos of their own minds, upon entering our field of presence, will feel relief. Their nervous systems will, for a moment, have a point of reference of peace to tune into. I love the image of being the calm in the eye of the storm. The storm is there, violent and destructive. It's not our job to stop it. It would be arrogant and exhausting to try. Our job is to anchor ourselves so deeply in our center, in that eye of peace, that we become an immovable point of reference. Whoever is being swept away by the wind can look and see. There is a place of calm, and perhaps, just perhaps, that will give them the strength to seek their own center. This is the leadership of the new era. It's not a leadership of words, of orders, of charisma. It's the silent leadership of presence. It's the authority that emanates not from a position, but from inner peace. It's the kind of leadership that an ancient oak tree exercises in a forest. It doesn't give orders to the other trees. It simply stands there, strong, rooted, and its presence creates an entire ecosystem around it. We are being called to be those human oak trees, and that takes a huge weight off our shoulders, don't you think? The pressure of having to save the world. We don't have to save anyone. The only person we can truly save is ourselves, and in doing so, in dedicating ourselves to cultivating our inner garden, we paradoxically become the greatest possible contribution to the world. Our peace becomes an invitation to the peace of others. Our clarity becomes a beacon for the clarity of others. So our job is not to fight the darkness. It is simply to be the lighter, calm, constant light without fanfare. Not a light that blinds, but a light that warms and shows the way. And this light, this diamond-like presence, will be our point of impact. A silent but profound impact that will send waves of harmony to a world that desperately needs them. And while the old world, based on fear, begins to crumble under the weight of its own unsustainability, we will be there not to celebrate the fall, but to witness the birth of something new. And as we settle into this new state of being, we begin to look at the world with different eyes. What once seemed solid and permanent now reveals its cracks. The great shift of 2026, as I feel it, is not an isolated event, but the culmination of a process. It is the moment when the planetary heart rate, the collective vibration, reaches a tipping point. And for a system built on the unstable foundations of fear, scarcity, and competition, this acceleration is like an earthquake. For those who have spent their entire lives clinging to these structures, the financial system as the only source of security, social status as the only measure of value, institutions as the only source of truth, this collapse will be terrifying. It will be like watching the ground disappear beneath their feet. Everything that was predictable will become chaotic. Everything that was secure will become uncertain. It will be the crumbling of a house of cards. And the sound of the fall will be deafening for those who believe the house of cards was real. But for us, the sound will be different. It will not be a sound of terror, but of confirmation. It will be the soft click of a piece that finally fits into place. We who have retreated into silence, who have faced the void, who have seen our own inner structures crumble and be rebuilt, will not be frightened by the collapse of the external world, because we have already gone through this process in our own souls. We have already died to the old world, and therefore we are not afraid of its end. We will understand, in a way that cannot be explained, only felt, that the end of the world of survival is necessarily the birth of the world of presence. The end of the era of competition is the beginning of the era of collaboration. The end of the reign of fear is the dawn of the reign of love. We will not feel joy at the pain of others, but a profound compassion and, at the same time, a serene certainty that everything is happening as it should. That demolition is necessary so that a new building with truer foundations can be constructed, and we will be ready to walk through this transition, not as guides who have all the answers, but as fellow travelers carrying a lantern. We will not offer maps, for old maps are no longer useful. Instead, we will offer the compass of our own aligned hearts. We will show, by our example, that it is possible to traverse the darkness with peace, that it is possible to find security within oneself when the external world collapses, that true wealth lies not in what we accumulate, but in the peace we cultivate. This will be our final test and our greatest service, to remain calm when everyone is panicking, to remain centered when everyone is disoriented, to be the anchor of serenity in an ocean of turbulence, not because we are special or better, but simply because we did our homework. Because when the universe called us to silence, we listened. And now the journey that began with a simple call for reflection reveals its ultimate purpose. And we realize that this is not the end, but the true beginning of our lives. And so the circle closes. The journey that began with a feeling of estrangement, with a desire to get away from the world, now reveals itself in its entirety. The light of 2026, which, for many, will be blinding brilliance that confuses and obscures for us, will simply be the light of day. It will be the illumination that will allow us to clearly see the path that opens before us, a path that was previously hidden in the mist. The search is over, because we realize that the treasure was never in a distant destination, but was the journey itself. The wisdom we once sought in books, in masters, in philosophies, now springs from within, like water from a spring that has finally been unblocked. We no longer need external answers, because we have become both the question and the answer in a continuous dialogue with the divine that dwells within us. Thoth's final message, as I understand it in my heart, is an invitation to surrender not to defeat, but to wisdom. An invitation to stop trying to repair, with limited tools, a world that the universe in its infinite intelligence has already chosen to dissolve. Our attention shift. Instead of staring outward at the collapse of old structures, we turn inward to the garden we have quietly cultivated all along. Our energy is no longer wasted resisting what we fear or reject. Instead, it is devoted to nurturing what we wish to see grow. A new reality, a new way of relating, a new way of creating. We come to understand that true creation does not arise from effort or struggle, but from the natural radiation of our state of being. Our peace gives rise to peace. Our clarity brings clarity. Our love multiplies love. The journey was never meant to take us somewhere else. It was designed to return us home to ourselves. And from this place, real life begins. A life that is no longer a reaction to circumstances, but a conscious expression of the soul. We stop being a small boat, tossed helplessly by the waves of fate, and recognize ourselves as the ocean itself, aware of every wave, every current, yet forever resting in a calm, unchanging depth. If you've made it this far and feel this understanding holds value, consider supporting the channel by exploring one of our ebooks through the link in the first pinned comment. Your support allows us to continue creating in-depth content independently. We're deeply grateful for your presence and for walking this path with us. Thank you.